Hey everybody, my name is Dan Tribley, health coach here at Epic Functional Medicine Center. I'm really excited to show you this video today. What we're going to be covering is two things. One is really getting to visually see how many vegetables is 9 cups in a day. And the second thing we're going to dive into and look at is what does that actually mean in terms of the caloric breakdown, the macronutrient breakdown, to better appreciate the perspective of what we're getting for this volume and quantity of food. I'll admit, even in my own life, up until really just recording this video for you all, I've often kind of just gone intuitively by thinking about, okay, when I have dinner, I'll try to have the biggest thing on my plate be the vegetables. Or, I'll make this really big salad and put a lot of stuff on there. It seems like a lot of food. I feel pretty full. But I haven't really measured, quantitatively dissected this to see this is exactly how much 9 cups of vegetables look like, and this is exactly how much by weight these different foods are to give you really accurate numbers breakdown. So let's dive in and take a look. Okay, so to show you the spread here, everything you see is raw, so that will change the volume of some of these foods. But to start from the left, we have 1 cup of spinach. We have 2 cups of mixed leafy greens, kind of a spring mix blend you can find at pretty much any store these days. This is 1 cup of riced cauliflower. Then we have 1 cup of kale, 1 cup of broccoli florets, 1 cup of peeled and de-seeded zucchini because of the lectins, 1 cup of sweet potato, and lastly, 1 cup sliced up portobello mushrooms. So there it is, 9 cups laid out over the entire course of the day. Now, when in the Epic 5 shopping list, we talk about anywhere from 5 to 13 servings of vegetables. And a serving could either be what's on the package or just call 1 cup serving. Now for the leafy greens, you'll see these are kind of poofy, so I made sure to kind of jam those into my measuring cup to get more of an accurate model there. And that's a pretty widespread, 5 to 13 servings. I just decided to do an average of 9. The reason why we say 5 to 13 servings, even though we're still saying 3 servings of each category of leafy greens, cruciferous, and colorful, is because some categories will double dip one to the other. Such as example, kale is both a cruciferous vegetable and it's a leafy green. So that's a little bit of the logic there. I figured let's do an average for some nutritional excellence. So with all that being said, let's do a breakdown of how this could look, what this could look like in your meals, okay? So let's say for breakfast you're making a green smoothie and I'm taking a cup of spinach and let's say half of this zucchini. So let's just kind of pour some of that over into here, okay? All right. So this goes into my green smoothie in addition to some other things. So we'll just set that off to the side over here. Next, we're going to do a salad for lunch, okay? And I'm going to slide these guys back. Okay. So in my proposed salad for the day, I'm just going to go ahead and put my spring greens on and get those out from under. Kind of stubborn. Okay. So we got that. And we got another one. Some of you are already thinking, oh my gosh, what a salad. Well, that's the point. Okay. Next up, let's do for this salad. Let's see here. Yeah. So usually I like to cook my broccoli, so it'll probably shrink a little bit from this. Let's just put that broccoli into that salad as well. Okay. And next up, we're going to put in half a cup of sweet potato. Now, this is raw, but I would just cook it. Give it kind of a nice, starchy, tasty mix into there. Kind of put it on top. All right, I'm going to leave the other half for dinner. And lastly, kind of half a cup of mushrooms here. Okay? And spread that around. These mushrooms might not look so appetizing because they were pre-sliced, so they're kind of a little brown in there, but that's okay. All right, so that's what we have for a potential green salad. So nice full plate, stacked a lot of stuff there. So we've got breakfast, we've got our lunch. Now, let's take a look at dinner. So maybe you make a bowl for yourself. Now, I just kind of took a bigger bowl here just to make things easier in this video today. Well, let's say you cooked up some kale. Now, kale or any leafy green, you cook it, it's going to shrink to half or 2/3 its volume. So it wouldn't even take up this much space. So this wouldn't fill up the bowl as much. But let's going to put that in here. Okay. And now, so we got our bed of greens. We're going to put our riced cauliflower. Bam. Put that inside. And we're going to take everything else that we did put in for our lunch. Some mushrooms, some zucchini. Oh, there we go. And sweet potato. Okay. Do kind of a mix there. And that, my folks, is our bowl. You can see the size of my hands and the size of the bowl. So there you go. In a picture, we have what would go in a green smoothie, what would go in your salad, and what could go into your dinner bowl. It's a good amount of food, but as you can see, if you think about it, I think it's pretty realistic. It does take intention, but it's realistic. Now the cool thing is, I mean, this is a lot of food, right? And this is just the vegetables. We haven't even put in our meats and proteins. We haven't put in our oils or slice of avocado or coconut or all that fun stuff. We haven't put on any seasonings or herbs. So there's so many other foods that are missing that we can then add on to this. And man, oh man, can you imagine just how full and satisfied you would be if stick to eating that much food, and also use some berries in the smoothie. So let's actually take a look at the breakdown of the macronutrients and the calories here so we can really get some perspective on all of this, okay? So that'll be in our next section. Okay, so now we have our spread of the day's vegetable intake and split up into 3 different meals, snacks not even included. Now, I went ahead and took some time for all of us today to get some really in-depth information and measurements on just how many calories or how much fiber, sugar, and so many other things are made up with what you see right here for perspective. So one of the things we talk about is nutrient density, or you might hear that term a lot, which is basically the amount of nutrients that you're getting divided by the calories. A more nutrient-rich food or higher nutrient density food is going to be one that has more nutrients per gram of weight than another food. So looking at that, that's the foundation. Water and density of nutrients, especially through vegetable intake, will be a winner here. Let's put this into perspective. For some of you, you're looking at this going, that's a lot of food. You know, think about how big our stomachs are. Now, that said, a lot of this is water. Our stomachs can stretch, so it's not possible to eat this by any means, though it could be a challenge for some. But let's take a look at the breakdown. Now, what I did for us to get the information today is simply put, not rocket science here, but just in case, for those of you who are kind of newer to this, basically I just took a glass measuring cup and then measured all the separate ingredients with that cup. Now what I first did is just took a weight scale, a food scale here, and then weighed the cup on its own, and then I zeroed it out, so that way the weight of the cup isn't taken into account, and I get the true weight of the food. I went ahead and measured in grams, and then used a free software or website called the Mercola Chronometer, which is a nice tool that, there's a lot of tools like that. There's apps you can use where you can scan things with your phone to get those measurements. And that way, I can just type in the exact grams and not do any guesswork here. So, what findings showed for this today is the following. All of this together is 279 calories, 17 grams of protein, a net carb, so net is taking the amount of carbohydrates minus the fiber. So that's 38 grams. 16 of those 38 grams are sugars, surprisingly, so actually a little higher than what I expected. 16 grams of fiber, so some, but for some of us we could use plenty more fiber than that. And then just 2.5 grams of fat. I want you to pause and think about this for a moment. 279 total calories, even proteins, carbs, fats aside. That is so little. Let's put this into account. Here, I have in my hands 1 cup of long grain white rice. So a gluten-free grain. I'm not lifting this to promote, hey, rice is fine in the Epic 5 shopping list, but you know, it's gluten-free, it's something very common, and we think, yeah, it can't be that bad, right? I'm not saying it's a bad food necessarily, but this is 210 calories for a cooked cup. Think about that. Look at the volume of this, okay? This here, calorically speaking, equals roughly all of this. All right, or some combination of maybe take a little of the sweet potato off and it would equal that. Well, you tell me, what would make you feel fuller and more satisfied? This or this? What do you think has far more protein for you and nutrients and fiber? This or this? Notice I'm not even including even the smoothie here, so that's just added bonus on top of that. So just to put in perspective, part of what's going to help with our satisfaction and fullness is not just, is not really how many calories we get, it's how many nutrients we get. Proteins and fats will help, of course, but also volume, okay? And volume is such a big thing. And that's why when you have really high dense foods that are really rich in energy, you might still feel snacky after a short amount of time. So just some thoughts here to think about. The sugars, of course, all this is just with the specific foods I shared today. Now, I had sweet potato in here, which is a starchy vegetable. It's going to be one of the starchiest on that shopping list, and also have more sugars as well. To put in perspective, the sweet potato that you saw here in the 9-cup breakdown was a little bit under half of the total calories of all the foods. So that's another thing, too, that you could even tweak further. If we had swapped out the sweet potato and did another cup of, another cruciferous vegetable or a leafy green vegetable, that would cut that down even more. So all that to be said, going back to protein, interestingly with vegetables, so no meat added in here, for every 2 grams of carbohydrates we got 1 gram of protein. Pretty decent ratio considering we're talking about vegetables that we oftentimes think are not really a protein food, right? And the carbohydrates are all complex carbs. We're getting some fiber with that. So a lot going on here. So good for us. So as you can imagine, when we excel at doing this amount of vegetables or more, right, we can fit it in addition to getting our fats, healthy fats in, our proteins in, it's pretty hard to overdo it with calories. So some of you, many of you coming here are looking to lose weight, or some of you are underweight and looking to gain some weight, okay? So if you're looking to lose weight, excel with this, and you're probably most likely going to find your weight dropping and stabilizing while also getting your nutrients up and feeling full and satisfied. If you feel like you are doing that and there's something stuck there, then check in with your team or your health coach, and we can cross that bridge when we get to it. If you're looking to gain some weight and you think, oh, it's so low calorie and I need to get more, increase your proteins, increase your fats, increase the ratio of starchy vegetables. There's a lot of great ways to really increase that up fast, okay? So next we're just going to kind of transition to looking at some closing thoughts and other tips for you. All right, well now that we've looked at how much food is 9 cups of vegetables, showing what it could look like when you put it into different meals, and also going into an in-depth analysis with the macronutrient breakdown, let's go over some of the benefits. We're reviewing some of those and just some closing thoughts. So in terms of the benefits, when we excel with eating that amount of vegetables and really strive for that, making that foundation along with water, and then add on those fats and proteins and everything else on top, you're naturally going to help yourself with feeling more full. I mean, who wouldn't, right? It was a lot of food we saw. So that's going to also reduce cravings because of the nutrients and even just the volume in and of itself. The second thing is you're going to get also a lot of water in vegetables. That's something we don't think about, and we're not counting the water in the foods with the 100 to 125 ounce recommendations we typically give folks, but it's still water that just helps create a buffer and better hydrate your body. The other thing is more fiber, is better motility, we're getting toxins out, better gut health. We're also, as we talked about before, weight stabilization. It just makes sense that when somebody eats a lot of vegetables, the bulk of all their foods, that weight is going to either go up a bit if you're making sure to eat enough food, or to go down depending on where you're at on that scale. The other thing that is not talked about often is phytochemicals. So phyto just means plant. So phytochemicals or phytonutrients are the kind of unsung heroes of the nutrition, the benefits we get from whole foods and plant-based foods. There are supposedly over 4,000, about 5,000, maybe even more of these compounds that have been identified, and only a fraction, less than 10%, maybe even 5%, have actually been studied in depth. A lot of these are various kind of antioxidants or other kind of micronutrients that help catalyze and help other nutrients work better. There is so much we don't understand, but we are getting hundreds or thousands of them into our body. We're eating a lot of vegetables. So I know for me, learning about that made every meal I had, every nutritious meal I had, made me think I am getting loaded with tons of positive chemicals and nutrients that we don't even get, that my body is benefiting from. Let that be an excitement for you as you dive into eating this way. So a couple closing thoughts. This can be a lot of food for folks, right? And some of you might be like, I can't eat that much food. So if I'm supposed to be, 3 cups of each thing, what do I do? First of all, don't sweat it. Listen to your body. Don't force feed yourself, okay? So if you don't think you're hitting 9 cups of vegetables, you kind of need to be on a lower scale of that, that's fine. Do that. And of course, just rotate your foods, whether you're doing 5 or 9 cups or 13, right? Rotate your foods. You'll get a lot of different nutrients. That is A-okay. Second, take advantage of snacks. So if you feel like your stomach's only big enough to fit so much food in a single sitting, get some snacks and get some vegetables in those snacks. Break it up into smaller meals throughout the day. That can be a great way to help accommodate that amount of nutrients when there's only so much room in our stomachs to fit that. Also, if you're not smoothied out, take advantage of smoothies. I mean, that's a great way to pack in a lot of food, liquidate it, make it easy to consume fairly quickly. So that's why we often promote the idea of those green smoothies. Such an easy way to get 2 or 3 or more cups of greens or veggies into your day without really much thought. Now, over time, it will get easier. Sometimes even our stomachs can stretch a little bit if you're not used to eating this much food, this many vegetables. It might feel like a lot at first, but after a few days or a week, you'll find that your stomach's a little more acclimated to it or stretched out a bit, and it's a little more comfortable and easier to do. So give your body some patience with that. Last thing, what's nice about all of this is when we eat a lot of healthy, nutritious foods like this, especially the vegetables, we're naturally crowding out what we could otherwise be eating, right? If you're so full, then you're naturally not going to want, kind of going back to the cravings, right? You're naturally not going to want to fit other foods that might not be as good for our health. That also helps with the weight stabilization and with overall nutrition and health. So lastly, almost lastly, I just remember one other thing. Don't forget to flavor your foods with seasonings, herbs, spices, dressings, okay? Don't forget to use those. Change things up, and you'll find that change in flavor is going to give you that little spice of variety, pun not intended, that will help you to really not only just get food in, but enjoy that food. One other thing, a video that I really like personally, and I shared with a lot of people. I don't know this guy at all personally, so I have no affiliation, but There's a great video you can look up on YouTube. It's called Ross Pelton's Salad Buzz. Basically, it's like an 8 or 9 minute video of this guy who takes a food processor. So if you have one, I definitely recommend watching this video. And he just shows how you just take all of these different vegetables and just run them through the processor, whip up a nice medley of vegetables that are preserved in some lemon or lime juice, stored in your fridge, and you can get a lot of variety of vegetables with very little preparation work that can work for your entire week. So definitely encourage you to check that out if that might be helpful as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope this was helpful.